of the Coach Ingram Show here on the Cool Channel. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Roger Cunningham, and on my left, your right, is the head football coach of the Seminole County Indians, Mr. Alan Ingram. Coach, thanks for being here.
As always, the BC alternative.
Well, Coach, doesn't get any bigger than last. Well, it will this coming Friday, but as far as spirit and rivalry and everything like that, it doesn't get any better than this past Friday night up in Kaufman with the family feud, backyard brawl, whatever anybody's calling it these days. It's always a big game against Miller and a big 28-0 win.
Yeah, as always, you throw all the records out, all the stats and all that stuff, and get ready to, you just got to buckle up and get ready to play. And that's the way it was. A very tight, close ball game. We got ahead 14-0. First two times we touched the ball, we go down and score, and it stays there until about 5 minutes left in the ball game. But we had some we had some drives. We moved the ball well. We played really good on defense, and made when they moved the ball at all, we made some mistakes with alignments and things like that. Again, people not getting where they're supposed to be and that type of stuff. But had a few miscues with the quarterback center exchange. Again, still at this stage of the year, there's no excuse for it. But again, a very heated rivalry, and we rose to the occasion. We played well enough to win.
Right. Well, normally here Miller County's crowd a lot noisier than they were Friday night, but they've had a little bit of a disappointing season up there, and we got out ahead when we got to be 14-0. Of course, Charles and I up in the booth were continuing to hype it up. The game's not over, and it wasn't, but for all intents and purposes, they couldn't do anything against our defense. They had a total of 36 yards for the whole game and ran 40 plays. That's less than a yard average, per play. They had 35 yards rushing. They tried 13 passes, had one completion through one interception, and the completion was only 1 yard. So again, total of 36 yards. We pretty much dominated them on defense.
Yeah, they had been, they run the waggle out of the wing T stuff. They run the waggle pass as well as anybody does, and that was a big concern. But that was, and they ran it a lot, but we played it really well. We did a lot of work on that, and
they did have some drops that would make a difference, but overall we played pretty well.
I thought we played pretty good on defense. Again, some miscues here and there, but overall, good defensive game. It's high school ball, and you go make mistakes, and you just have to overcome mistakes.
Right, and talking about some of the mistakes, especially when you get into the playoffs, we still had 8 penalties for 75 yards in the game. That's got to concern you a little bit. And then also, we only lost one, but we had a total of 5 fumbles. And you might get away with that against some of these other teams, but especially against Mitchell with their speed, and you get into the playoffs, things like that could turn around and bite you.
Yeah, and those fumbles, that puts you into either negative yards or 0 yards on offense. When you have that fumble, most of them, again, like I said, was a quarterback and center exchange stuff, and Alex is pulling out. He's a little small-handed kid, and he's pulling out a little bit. Had the center, tit for tat. You can't nail it down. Sometimes it's the center, sometimes it's the quarterback. And they just have to work more and more on that.
They do get excited, especially when they think they see something that they can exploit.
Yeah, and penalties, again, it's just lack of concentration. Defensive penalties, some of them, I think we had a face mask penalty, a couple of hits in the back, that type of stuff. And heated rivalry, you want to get in on every play, and sometimes you just hit people without using your head.
Mm-hmm. Well, we still had 256 yards of total offense in the game. We had how many passing yards? We only had 25 passing yards, 231 rushing yards. I know you'd like to get around 300 rushing yards for the game, at least 300 total yards for the game, but still not far off.
No, we ran the waggle through the waggle back at them a couple of times, but we ran bad routes or didn't get the guard out there on their outside linebackers, and just made some miscues. the thing. No excuse for it. We just have to execute it better.
Well, when you say the wagon, tell the folks what you mean by the wagon.
Wing T formation, wing T stuff. It's with the wing outside the tight end, and the big play. If you're a wing T person, then or a team, then you're running what they call a buck sweep, which is really power sweep. We call it a power, but it's a power, and it looks like it's going outside, and the running back, plants his foot, turns it back up into C gap off the tackle's rear end, off the down blocks and all. And then you run the waggle, it's exactly opposite. You fake the buck sweep and then go back door,
right?
And everybody runs drags. And you put the fullback out the flats,
right? And it's been a pretty decent play for us.
Oh yeah, it's a good play for us. Miller County lives off of that, and they throw the ball. And like I said, we worked on it really, really hard to stop the waggle. We were, successful there. He completed the fullback one time for 1 yard.
Well, one thing I noticed in going over the stats before we came on camera is that there wasn't any dominating running back for us. Sometimes we have a running back that will get 125, 150 yards, and then some others will have some. But it was pretty even. Javante had 77, Wiggins had 63, Fudge had 57, and even Rambo with 37. That's pretty good consistency between all those runners.
Well, we so beat up, our 2-3 running backs that we use sometimes at the tailback position or either at the A-back positions if we're running out of the flex bone. We're just banged up, and that includes Wiggins and Cowboys banged up a little bit. Dude Smith's banged up, and then Rah-Rah. We didn't know going into the game if he was going to be able to play. We got in and tried him a couple of times, and he just couldn't plant and cut. So I think we played him about 3 consecutive plays, and finally just took him out. Didn't try to play him on defense, but so that kind of eliminated a lot of things that we do offensively. And I felt like going into the game, we prepared ourselves to play basically a ball control type offense, featuring the fullback, running the fullbacks in there, and we've got wrong personnel, because of the injuries and all, but wrong personnel in at certain times, running certain plays. We were playing Brandon Smith over there on the blocking side at the flex bone, and using the other 2 guys when we were swapping around between Cowboy and Wiggins, to run the ball, and both of them, banged up like I said, and it was just wound up running the fullback, and then Dude Smith, he's been nursing a sore shoulder, for a couple of weeks, but just basically running the fullback, running the outside veer, inside veer, trying to trap a little bit, and playing a ball control type game. And we won the ball game anyway, but didn't have the offensive output that I wanted. Made the mistakes and all, but when honestly, when it got 14-0, I felt like we were going to control the game, but Miller was we were going to have to do something really stupid. They were going to have a big break or something to score. And I felt like I didn't feel like they could score. 14-0 was I pulled a Mark Rick, I guess. I just kind of sat on it at that point in time, and it got only thing I was trying to do then was make first downs. We went for it a couple of times on 4th down, on 4th and short, simply for the playoffs. Usually a lot of the I'd punted out there on a couple of those occasions, but trying to get a little extra block and a little bit of harder run from the fullback position, didn't get it. We made a read one time. Read with the quarterback was wrong one time, and caused that. We missed a down block by a tight end one time. Caused us, the lack of getting the first down, and that type of stuff. We were just not very crisp on offense. But again, it was different personnel than we would have chose to have in there.
Right. Well, you kind of touched on one of the things I was going to talk about, and that was the injuries. Give us some of the updates, like on Robert. Because that ankle thing, man, that's tough to come back from. I mean, it really is.
Yeah, the ankle. The ankle's I tried to explain to somebody the other day about ankle injuries. if you want to use degrees, it can be from, let's say, a 1% injury up to 100%. And no one can tell, except the person with the injury, how bad it is. I've seen them where they turned an ankle and that thing swelled up, like a softball, and they play on it, and it doesn't give them any discomfort or anything. And then I've seen it where it doesn't swell at all, and they just can't even put their heel on the ground. So, whoever knows, but Robert's got a high ankle sprain. They're the worst type. It pulls the ligaments higher up in the Achilles area.
Same thing that Chris Brown had.
Chris Brown has it. Same thing that the running back at Georgia's had. He's been out 3 or 4 weeks, got in the ball game, against Florida, had 21, 22-yard average the first 6 or 7 times he touched the ball, and then he can't go the second half.
Right.
But and Rah-Rah's like it sometimes it just takes time. I've seen it take 6 months for him to heal. Antoine Buggs was one that injured one when he was a junior, and he never, or actually when he was a sophomore, he never had the speed. Again, sometimes you get calcium deposits in there. They have to go in and clean it out. Shave it down a little bit. Sometimes some cortisone helps, but so no one knows about Rah-Rah. I don't know if he's going to be able to play this week or not. We actually need a week off. He's so banged up. If we can survive and get through this week, to make the 10-0 team and win the region championship, then we have that week off, and it will be much needed. I guarantee you we'll need that week off this time.
And Cowboy, his deal's a hip, isn't it?
He's got a little hip pointer in there, and plus he's got a little ankle too. He just banged up, beat up. He's a little small guy, got a lot of speed, but he gives you everything he's got every play, and just kind of banged up, beat up.
And he talks a lot about dude. Now I heard someone sent me a text message today saying that we did get a player back. Is Tom Thomas, or was that an erroneous text message I got?
No, he's back. He's out of alternative school. He's still got a few days to go. He's got to have about 5 days of. He won't be playing this week. Got about 5 days of getting in condition and things like that, and then we'll have that open date. And so right now I expect for him to be ready to play in first round of playoffs. What role he'll play, I don't know. I can't tell you. I don't know if he'll be back in the. I guarantee the first game he won't be ready to play like he played the same role that he played last year for us.
Maybe more defensively than offensively.
Who knows? I just don't know. Until we get out there scoring again, how Rah-Rah's ankle responds, how well he comes around and is able to play, and it's just one of those things we wait and see.
Well, if Rah-Rah, it can't. it might be just perfect timing. Getting somebody that's fresh.
Absolutely. Their bodies, these old guys are small. We played 9 ball games plus that, early exhibition game, scrimmage game, whatever you want to call it, plus the contacts and practice every day that we'll have. And after a while, the body just, we lift weights, and the way we're set up, we lift weights during the off season, and we just don't have the opportunity to lift weights. We don't have the time to lift weights during the season. If we had the time or had a physical education class at weightlifting class, whatever, so we could get the kids in here during the school day, that would be different. But we don't have time to keep those muscles and all toned up and things like that, and the body just takes wear and tear, and usually the smaller the kid is, the more it's going to take, and I think that's where we're at right now.
Well, we do have pretty good running backs. We got a string of them.
Yeah.
And that are interchangeable, do different things, whatever. So does it hurt us more on defense having these little injuries than it say would on offense? Because he's got most of them playing both ways.
It has not hurt us. That you could see, that you could tell. So far, we've been able to run with the wide receivers and all. Our speed has been equal to or as good or better than the folks that we play, and that may change Friday. I don't know. I know Mitchell has a lot of speed. They're skilled guys. They've got great skilled guys. Their offensive line, I don't think, is as good as our defensive front, or I don't think their defensive front is quite as good as our offensive line. So it may be one of those games if we can keep them from getting easy touchdowns, with fade passes or picking up a fumble, running it back in or whatever. They've been very aggressive on defense so far, and they've had a lot of turnovers, a lot of touchdowns from the defensive side. So we can't make those silly, crazy mistakes, and it may come down to just grinding it out, and I'll take it.
Sure. Every time you take 6-7 minutes off the clock in a drive.
I never have an offensive game plan. We've talked about that a lot. Too much of an offensive game plan. We have some idea of what they're going to do, and we kind of tweak our plays a lot to run according to what we think they're doing defensively. And sometimes we get into ball games because everybody's going to play the option differently. And they do entirely something else than we think, and we may go back or we'll tag a play or whatever. So, I don't have a clue right now how to answer that question. Really.
Right. Well, looking at the stats for the season quickly, we've had a total of 400 rushing attempts, averaging 5.6 yards per game, averaging 255 per game. Is that about where you'd like to see it, or would you like to see a little bit more?
I'd like to see a little bit more offensive output there. You're never satisfied with what you have. Running the option, I'd like to have about a 300-yard average. But again, with the guys that we have, we don't have that really, really breakaway guy. The Chris Browns and the Deke Virgins, the Antoine Boogs, that type of stuff. So, you take what you got and you do the best you can with it. We're obviously, we're 9-0, so it's
right.
It's been pretty good so far.
Well, total yards, looking at, we're right at about 2,750, 2,760 total offensive yards net for the season, and one more game to play, so we'll probably easily go way over 3,000 total yards. There's a lot of teams that would take that.
Oh yeah, we would definitely love to have in 10 ball games, 3,000 total yards. We'll take that if it's a win.
Sure. And we'll take a break. We'll come back a little bit more about Mitchell County playoff stuff and whatever it is that we get into talking about. Stay tuned, everybody. You're watching the Coach Ingram Show here on the Cool Channels. Welcome back, everybody. Coach Ingram Show here on the Cool Channels. I'm Roger. This is Coach Ingram. Thanks for tuning in. Well, Coach, the first 9 are over with. Won them all. That's a good thing.
Great thing.
Mitchell County comes into the house this coming Friday night, 7:30 kickoff time. They're 6-3. But right now, our 9-0 record and their 6-3 record doesn't mean a hill of beans right now, because if they win, they go 7-3. We go 9-1. They still win the region. We're definitely going to be in the playoffs. Because we'll still be ranked way up there in the power rankings, but it could mean, instead of having home field advantage all throughout the playoffs, being the number one ranked in the power rankings, it could hurt you down the road as far as home games and things like that. But of course, we're not going to think in that way. But this game is for all the marbles. Mitchell County's won all their region games, despite losing a few other games to non-region opponents. They're still right there.
Well, yeah, it's like I said, it's for all the marbles. The region championship is obviously one of the things that we always come into the season wanting to accomplish. It's one of our primary goals. Going undefeated is one of the goals. But winning region is the big goal. Beat Miller County is one we've accomplished everything so far. Set 9-0, have not got to the region, so it will be just kind of a unfulfilled season for us,
right.
If we don't win the thing. But like I said, it's not the end of the world if we don't win the thing. That's the way I looked at the Miller County game. The region championship this week
would still be Mitchell County. Yeah,
it's still Mitchell County, and they're a very talented bunch. It's going to be a ball game. We went early in the year. Pelham was supposed to have been real good, and both of us undefeated. We went over and played real well. If we can get back to that point where we play with that kind of intensity and get the the mindset, then we'll be fine. We'll take it as it comes.
And I'm sure you've been preaching so far this week in practice. Listen, Miller's over. Yeah. The game really didn't matter anyway. This is the one that matters.
Yeah, the attention has mental part of the game has definitely been really good these first 2 days, and knock on wood,
Yeah, yeah.
say that. But if they keep up that intensity, trying to learn what their assignments are, then they'll, we'll be okay.
Well, Mitchell, tell us about Mitchell. What do they do offensively, defensively? How do we attack that, and what do we do to prevent them?
Offensively, they're going to be in a gun, pistol, offset eye, or two guys behind him. The tailback's about 10 yards from the line of scrimmage, and he gets a running start with everything. He is quick. He don't really know where he's going, but what they've added to their attack from last year, basically the same thing. They want to throw the ball probably 30% of the time, but they've added the option to it and running the.
Now, is the quarterback at risk to take off?
The quarterback's a big risk. He wants to run the ball. He's the guy to stop. He had number 2. Number 11 is quarterback. Number 2 is a big guy. Got a lot of speed at receivers.
And they're normally pretty tall.
Yeah, they got a big tight end. The two, actually 3 of the wide receivers don't have a whole lot of height. They're kind of small, but they just as quick as little water bugs. But 9, the tight end, is big and strong. Runs great routes. Excellent blocker. The quarterback has got he can really throw the ball a lot better than he was last year. He was good last year, better this year. He wants to take off and run. Last year he wasn't much of a run threat. This year much more. But they run the triple option much like we do. They don't pitch it to their tailback. They dive their fullback and usually out of a one back set, and they'll use a scout back or like the flex back that we formation. He backs up and then he runs the option route. So they're running toward him, dive the fullback, and then read the pitch or keep. So it's a triple option, and then they'll sometimes put one back behind the quarterback, run the double option, and then they'll also have the running back beside the quarterback and run the inside read option, much like you see a lot of college teams run now. And then you boot out of there and throw the ball quite a bit. So a lot of different looks, a lot of different action, and then run the option with it.
Well, last year was Coach Cornelius' first year there. Kind of getting his feet wet in there and everything, and had a decent season last year. But this year looks like they've really turned it on at the right time for them.
Yeah, he's had those guys in there. Got most of those guys back from last year, like I said, and he's copied us. He's the only other team in the league that's really run the option. He's run it out of his set, copying a lot of our plays, basically. But that's what football is anyway. You learn from other folks. I hope he hadn't learned too much.
Now, offensively, what will we try to exploit with them, and defensively, how do we stop them?
Well, we expect a pure 50 defense, with eagle tackles, squeezing down into deep gap, inside our tackles, and walking the 2 safeties up, and basically play it like a 5-4 with corner coverage out there, and probably play a man entirely, and we'll run the option. We'll run what they give us, a little bit of power stuff, a little bit of option stuff, try to spread them a little bit, go back to our flex. Bone and then flex our tight end some, run some oversets, unbalanced stuff, and the rule is when you run an option game with me is that if you have an even front, then you run balanced formations and odd fronts to get them to shift, and you run unbalanced stuff. You try to swap out if the safety's on pitch, then we're going to bring an extra guy over there to account for the safety and things like that. But we'll try to scheme them better than they can scheme us.
So you think we'll play mostly man-to-man, not much zone?
We'll play man. We're going to play man. I think we'll see them play man with us. We caught them in man a couple of times last year, hit them with some heavy passes, play action stuff, made them come. It's tough sometimes to play man with the option when you have to read the receiver and then come to pitcher to the option. And that's what our game. That's basically when we see men what we're trying to get them to do.
Right. All right. That's Mitchell County. Huge game Friday night. Kickoff right here at home at 7:30. But let's talk a little bit about beyond that. Marion lost Friday night, and as a result, we jumped up to number 1 in the power rankings. So if we win Friday night, I don't think there's much of a scenario where we could lose that number 1 ranking if we beat Mitchell County. Mitchell County, I think, is ranked like 10th, somewhere between 10th, 12th. I think something like that is where they're ranked. So even if they lose, they may still even squeak into the thing. Turner County, as of today, was ranked number 16th, and if the season ended today, that's who we would play, would be Turner. But so we win Friday night, a lot is accomplished. Number 1, we win the region. Number 2, we're probably going to finish number 1 in the power rankings, and as a result, we would host every game at home, no matter who we played throughout the playoffs, make it to the finals. Of course, that's in the dome. But so there's a lot on the line that's coming Friday night.
Yeah, tell you the truth, I looked at power rankings about 3 weeks ago. I hadn't looked at it since. Sweeney from Marion, the head coach there, is a good friend of mine. But anyway, he called me yesterday, and we had a talk. He said the way he sees it playing out is if we win, we stay number 1. He thinks he'll win this week. He'll be number 2. We wouldn't see them till later on in there. And it doesn't matter to me who we play after the first. After if we go 10-0, then that's great. If we're number 1 in the rankings, I definitely don't want to slip too far down there. So I'd like to have some home field advantage in there. It's definitely an advantage. We found out when we went to Atlanta 2 years ago to play with those North Georgia officials. Of course, last year we had I may get fined, but anyway, we had the played at home and had Middle Georgia officials, the same bunch what Dooley had.
Right.
So who knows? I think that situation with the Georgia high schools been taken care of.
Right.
Hopefully it has. But I don't know. I don't want to look that far ahead, and I don't really care. We'll have a week to worry about all that stuff when we get past Mitchell. And whatever happens there, then we take it as it is. Our kids will be excited to play whoever.
Right.
And who we play right now, I don't know who's going to be 15, 16. I know Hawkinsville was down there, pretty far down there until they beat Marion. Sweeney said they were big and physical bunch in there, and he's like us. He's banged up and got a few injuries. I don't know if Hawkinsville has the same thing. Irwin County, I know, has got a good football team. Clinch is going to be very hard to beat.
And Dooley's right up in there again.
Dooley's right back in there. I'd take Dooley first round. It don't bother me. But probably the disappointment of the year has been Wilcox bunch. Hadn't done very much at all. He's finally run out of athletes, and he's going to have to do like the rest of it. He's going to have to coach some. And Mark's a good friend of mine too. So, and I'm not talking about him, but he sure has been blessed with some great athletes in there in the last 4 or 5 years.
Well, Coach, sounds good. Sounds like we're getting ready for this Friday night, folks. Everything's on the line. It's for all the marbles this coming Friday night. As far as the region's concerned, we want to urge each and every one of you to come out. Friday night, 7:30 kickoff here at home. Let's get to 10-0. That's the deal this week. Let's get to 10-0.
Absolutely.
And so, folks, we'll see you at the game. And for Coach Ingram, I'm Mark Cunningham. You can watch another edition of the Coach Ingram Show. Until next time, good night, everybody.